nature, and I'd hear people saying bad things about me. I'm jumping on you, I'm fighting you because it was wrong. You don't know my story, you don't know why, you never tried to get to know me, so I didn't feel you had the right to say anything about what I went through and who I was. And this reputation preceded me. Shelly's a bad girl. She's a bad girl. That's all I heard. She was a bad. And so I lived up to that title, you know. Then one day, me and my cousin, I decided that I had to leave because I had an aunt that pretty much put me in a kind of a situation. I love her anyway. But I had to leave, and my mother helped. I mean, my mother, one thing with her is anything she put her mind to, she can get it done. And she was there. She helped, me to get something. I got my own place. I moved out. I was like, I was going to have my own job, and I'm going to pay my own car payment. And my cousin that was here, that came to New York, that I showed her the great fun, she decided she wanted to come and live with me. So now I'm getting blamed for moving people out of their house when I didn't. This was by her choice. She wanted to come, and we lived together, and we would hang out. I was like 18 years old. I had no business doing this. But we went out one day, and I met this guy. He was on crutches. And he was a handsome guy, and he liked me, and he called me over, and we were talking ever since then. Before that, I had met a guy in the mall, and he gave me his number, and we had conversed. It had just been before I left New York and went to Georgia, and he ended up calling me collect from jail. I didn't even know this person, but it was somebody to talk to while I was there in Florida. I was bored and stuff, so we would talk on the phone, and I guess somehow he started to love me, and we became boyfriend and girlfriend over the phone, and it was entertaining. But anyhow, I met this guy, and I loved him. Oh man, he was taking care of me. He did everything for me, and he was showing me things and a love that I never knew. And one day he said, you know what? I found out through the grapevine from someone that he was married. Ooh, that was hard. But because in the past I've had friends do things to me that was wrong, as far as messing around with other guys that I've dated, I felt like, you know what? Nobody cared about me, so why should I care about her? I don't know this person. And he was like, I'll accept your boyfriend, and I'll accept his wife, and we will be fine. And that'll be the story. So we were in a relationship with each other. He comes, he moves in with me. We live together, and we're doing things I have no business doing, but I'm having fun, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm living the big woman life. I'm working, and he was paying my rent and all of this stuff, and he was taking care of me. And I then found out that I was pregnant. And with that, I got scared because now I'm in Florida. I'm alone. My family wasn't there. I got scared, and I wasn't sure what to do. So after that, I decided I wanted to go back to New York to be with my family because I was afraid, of being by myself and not having anybody with me would take care of my son, even though he was there. So he stayed, and he took care of the apartment that I had in Florida, and we conversed on the phone all the time. He was there with me. Through the birth of our son, he was there with me. I've gotten into spats with his wife, different things of that nature, and all of these type of things. It was just too much for a young girl to have gone through. And I was only 18. I felt like I've been through a lot, you know? So I had my son, and I decided to name him a name that was Ethiopian. And this was because now, through this journey, a book was introduced to me. It was a book from Malachi York. And it was showing us, it pretty much was saying that, we were God, you know, is God, we are God and God is within us and yada, yada, yada. And I started to, at first I kind of was like, oh, my spirit was like, But then after a while I started to dibble into it because the Christians that I've seen around me were hypocrites, so, because I was able to go to church and still be, and nobody knew that I was a little bad girl in church and nobody cared. So I just was like, this is not for me. So I started reading this book and getting all kinds of knowledge, and I'm talking to people about it, and people are looking, I'm like, you guys are crazy. I'm not a Jesus follower. I'm not a Christian. This, that, and the third. I'm now a hairdresser, taking care of my son, and I'm with his father. He's come to New York to live with me, and we came back. We went back. My mom let it happen. You know, I look back at it now, and I sometimes wish that she didn't let it happen. But you know what? With traditions and cultures and the way women handle things, I forgive her. So we're there. We moved back to Florida and working, and I start to get into a lot of conspiracy theories and, reading up on these different things and learning about what was going on in the world. And I would talk to people about what was going on, and here Shelly go now, what she's on to now. So now, instead of people listening to me, I live my life being judged constantly, you know. And, I would tell people what's going on, this, that, and the third. Then one day I had a cousin that came to me. I never met her before. Well, we share the same last name, and she started talking to me about her relationship with God and all of this. And I'm like, I hear you, but I'm not on that Jesus train. We'll both get to heaven, but I just taking a different train. So she said to me, well, do you have the ticket to get in? And that kind of made me think, like, do I? So at that point, that day, because I knew in my heart that there was more to the life that I was living, that what I was doing was not going to get me down the right path, because with my son's father, I was around drug dealers, I was around the, sorry. I was around them all. I was around drug dealers, doing all kinds of stuff. And looking back at it now, how the Most High has saved me from that. I could have been in situations where I could have been killed or anything. And thank God that didn't happen, So with that now, and I'm smoking with him now because, we're involved and he smokes and we're smoking and we're having fun, and I loved this relationship. It was the best. At that time, I remember one time he would say to me, you're not affectionate. And I realized, like, oh my, am I like my dad? And then I started crying. I mean, really crying, because I started realizing, like, I'm like the person that at that time, I loathed my father. I hated him because he wasn't there for me. And I started crying because I realized that I'm being exactly like this person that I am saying that I hate. I had to say that because it's poignant. So after my cousin, I dropped to my knees and I got saved. My son was about 3 years old at the time. I gave my life to Christ at the time, and because she told me that it was a personal relationship. It was just between me and him. And I said, I can dig that. I don't want to have to be responsible for people telling me what I can and cannot do. I'd rather, this relationship that I have be personal and to be just between me and God. And so that's what I did. And one night my son was telling me about his experience as a child with God and how beautiful God was and how God would give him Elmo and would jump on the bed with him, and he would talk about the streets of gold. And I'm looking at this kid like, what? Because I was an atheist. I didn't teach him these things. So how did he know this stuff? And then he would tell me, Mommy, look, there's a lady over there and she's eating the city. And my cousin, she was very spiritual at the time. She was explaining to me what was going on. And I fell to my knees that day again. And I said, God, no one can ever shake my relationship with you because you are real. You have to be. My child told me. He told me so. And so from there, I became a devout Christian, and I'm throwing away all of my CDs and I'm listening to the gospel and I'm just in heaven, heaven. And I'm there and I'm in a relationship with God and I'm loving it. My son is hearing the music, he's there. I decided, you know what? I left my cousin's house, tried to go on my own somewhere else. It didn't work out. Called my mom, was able to get back to New York. So here I go, instability, moving all over the place. Me and my son now. I come back to New York. I come back and I live with my son in New York and, trying to reacclimate myself there. And, I'm still in church and I'm going to church. I found me a church home. And then, I'm reading my Bible and everything of that nature. I remember my cousin was telling me that I need to wear long skirts and things of that nature. And I just was like, that is not me. I can't do that. That is not me. And I'm like, God is, no, I just didn't feel that I had to. I didn't feel that that was what I had to do. So I get back to New York and I see this guy that I had a crush on a long time ago. And we met up somewhere. We hung out, started being friends, and I started getting promiscuous with this guy. I mean, like, right after church, I'd go over there and, hang out and come home late at night, and I ended up pregnant again. What? Oh, man. Thank you, God. I almost forgot that part. That when I went back to New York, Florida, I had got pregnant again by my son's father. And at that time, we both said, we can't have a child right now. We know we can't have a child right now and didn't have any money. So whatever little bit of money that we had, someone referred me to a hole-in-the-wall place. When I think about it, oh my God, and I think about it and I see how God was with me all this time. I went to a hole-in-the-wall place. They gave me a pill. It was like a little room. I went in there and I got up and baby was gone. And I feel at that time I could have possibly gotten, because around that time I remember going to the doctor and they told me that I had chlamydia and I blamed it on my son's father and, saying that he gave it to me. I'm still not quite sure where it came from because he denies it, but it could have been that situation. I don't know, but that's just the situation that I was in and that I put myself in. And, all of those things that I was going through after I got saved. I read the story about David and I heard about what David did with Bathsheba and how he took the man's wife and what happened to him and X, Y, and Z. And I remember it was a little pamphlet and I remember being in the bathroom that day and I remember being so scared. Like, oh God, no, please forgive me, because now I have a child that's out of wedlock, out of this situation. And I remember saying, God, please forgive me, please forgive me. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be in this. I was very afraid of his wrath. I became afraid of his wrath, what could happen to me, because now I'm becoming aware that he has wrath. Before it was just going to church for play. And I got on my knees. I asked for forgiveness, and I said, God, I got to do better. I want to do better. I don't want to be in your punishment or in your bad graces, So I remember I took the weed and I threw it over the balcony. I was done with it, and I was like, I am leaving this relationship. I gotta go. I can't be in this relationship anymore, and this is what's leading me to move on and move forward, because my cousin being in my life brought this light to me, and he, to this day blames and say that she destroyed our relationship because I left him. I never thought I would leave this guy. I've had thoughts to say, I don't know how I would be able to leave him, but at that moment, God gave me the strength, and I left him. I literally, he cried, and he cried. I walked over him and he gave me the strength, and I took my son and I left. I left that situation because I said, this is not good for me. I can't be in this situation. I have to go. I went back to New York and So through this relationship with this guy, I became pregnant, and I'm like, oh my gosh, sorry, this is coming to me as I'm talking, so please forgive me. But I got pregnant by my son's father again. And at this time, I was starting to realize, I think my grandfather died, and then I had a girl call me, and it was a lot, with whether she's telling me that she's cheating with him or whatever. And I called my mom and I told her the situation or whatever, and she helped me out. She sent me some money. I drove myself down there. Boy, oh boy, things that I've gone through. I drove myself down there by myself with no one and got an abortion. I remember driving home from the abortion place like drugged out. To this day, I don't know how I got back home because I was so dazed and so drugged up from, they always say you're supposed to have someone to take you home. But I was like, okay, they're outside, and I threw up in the car and I just drove myself home. And at this time, I was telling everybody that I was pregnant because I thought I was going to keep it. But then my mother advised me that, nobody's going to want you, having 2 kids from another man. Another man is not going to want you if you're going to be stuck in this relationship. And I didn't want that. So I had another abortion. So there goes abortion number 2 after miscarriage number 1. So now this is 3 children that I didn't get to meet, unfortunately. So now going back to this story to now introduce my 4th child. And I remember always saying, I wanted to have lots of kids like my grandma, because my grandmother had 14 kids. And I always thought it was cool to have so much siblings, and I thought, that's cool to have so much siblings. It must have been fun. Me and this fun. But, I could smile about these things, and I'll tell you why later. Because the Most High has had me go through a purge for a very long time. So had this abortion, and I remember my dad saying, because I would come home and I still would read my Bible, because again, God forgive me, sorry for what I've done, forgive me. And that was the lifestyle that was trained in Christianity. You ask God for forgiveness. I wasn't practicing it, so I fell into the situation. And at that time, I'm gonna have a seat right here. At that time, I felt that he was showing me, because my father came to me and he said, you can't have your foot here and you have your foot there. You can't, have your foot one place and one place. You got to make a decision or whatever. And I'm here in my head like, please, you can't tell me nothing, please, But that etched in my mind. Shade right here. Ooh, yeah. So, I remember that, and I remember God telling me, this walk is not about looking the part, wearing the dress, wearing the clothes, doing the right thing. It's nothing that you can do for me. He showed me real quick that just because you got saved, that doesn't mean that you're different, I saw that really quickly when I was around a guy, and it was not hard, not hard at all, for me to get involved in those things. I truly, truly, truly enjoyed it. Being with other guys, the whole women thing, never happened again. That was like a phase, I guess, of my curiosity. And so I had the abortion, and at that time I was like, God, please, you have to forgive me for this one. I cannot have another child right now. Please forgive me. I have to do what I have to do. And I did what I had to do. And I don't know what it was, but some people would always say, oh, they felt sorry, they were sad. I wasn't. I didn't know what it was with me, but I don't know if maybe my circumstances made me grow cold to certain things and just not care, I literally stopped caring. But I cared. Go figure. But I guess I stopped caring about me. So getting back to it, I had the abortion, and I decided that, I had my CNA license that I had gotten. I was blessed to be able to have gotten that for free while I was working as a hairstylist. So I had that, and I used that when I came to New York to work, and I found out that, I was making much better money there. So I used that situation. Hold on, let me walk on. So I used that situation and started working, and then I started learning about other things. So I went to school and became a medical assistant through my friend. She was telling me about this, so I went with her and we signed up for school, and I became a medical assistant. And I was working, I was getting my life together. I was going to church every Friday, going to the youth meetings. My son was there. I mean, every Friday I was there. I was in church all the time, and to the point where people started calling me holier than thou, and because they seen a change in me, and everything was about God with me. And so, with all of that, my son started growing up, and my mom moved to Florida. And when my son was young, I sent him with them because I needed to finish school, because I got a job in the hospital. So I was working overnight, and I went to school during the day because I had to get myself together. I had my license for hair, but something there was a wisdom that was inside of me, and I now always used to say it was a godly wisdom, because it was things that I knew that was telling me that I needed to do. So I went and I did that, and I worked in the medical field because I needed to get myself together, because I needed to have something to take care of my son. So I worked in the medical field, I became medical assistant, and my son was not with me. I was in New York, and my mom moved to Florida. I graduated and was working, and I decided that I was going to leave. Oh man. While I was in high school, I stole, I robbed, I lied, I cheated. I did all of that. Stole clothes, snuck into, everything you could imagine, I did as a child. I just had to put that in there. So now, I am going to church and doing that. I had my boyfriend, that he was my boyfriend when I was 14 years old. We remained friends, because of our connection that we had, which was with my friend. I was telling him that I was leaving and I was going back to Florida. He was what I considered my true love, because he was my first boyfriend. I would talk to him while I was, I would call him while I was at another guy's house, just because I was using him, because I didn't want to be around my uncle's house anymore. So I would use this other guy, hang out with him, but he was always on my mind, and I would always say he was gonna be my husband one day. He was gonna be my husband one day. I know. Talking now, because we talk. He's like, the things you used to tell me. And I guess at that time when I was leaving, he decided that he didn't want me to leave and not let me know that he wanted me. And someone wanted me. Those were the magic words. And jumped into marriage with him. And we got married. We got together in May. We got married in August. It was just that fast. There was no thought behind it. But he knew how I felt about church, how I felt about my God, and what was important to me. And he decided that he was going to get saved and things of that nature, because I told him about that, and how I felt, and about being unevenly yoked and different things of that nature. So he got, my cousin called, and she did over the phone, and she told me, this wasn't real, but I wasn't trying to hear it, because everything was done right. He did it, and he wants me, so it fit, and I wanted it. So I pushed forward to make it happen. I didn't have a big marriage because I wasn't so caring into all of that stuff. I was very logical. And I was like, we didn't have money. I wasn't trying to go into debt just because I wanted to show everybody that I got married and I love this person. And he kind of felt the same way. So we agreed, and we got married at the courts or whatever. I don't think this really made our family too happy, because they want the show. They want to show everybody. They wanted to, everybody to be there, whatever. But when I started to try to plan, I never felt that anybody cared. I didn't feel my mother cared. I didn't feel she wanted it. So I was like, you know what? Hey, what the heck? Whatever. Don't need it. So, get married. My husband comes for me. I still had to go back to Florida because my son was here. So I had to go back to my son. So, we started talking about it, and we started talking about getting married, and we decided we were going to get married here in Florida. So he came down, said he was going to come and marry me. We were thinking about living there. I was trying to get a job. My mother was going to let us stay at her place. I didn't have a job. I didn't find one, so I was like, I just wanted to be in the relationship, just moving off of desperosity and making such haste movements without thinking. I jumped into the marriage, and I was like, come and get me. I'll come to New York. And he came and got me, came to New York, and his mother was okay, allowed us to stay upstairs in their house, and moved me and my son there. I was so selfish, so self-centered. I did not realize it. I never even told my son. I never sat down and told him about it. It just was like, Mommy's married now, and to him, and this, that, and the third, and never really got a chance to bond and keep that bond with my oldest son. It's my heart. Because he was such a good, quiet little kid. I know that God sent him in my life. When I always say that he saved me. So Mommy's married now, and we're moving to New York. And you now have a brother. He's your age, which I thought was cool. At least he has someone to hang out with and different things of that nature. So I was there, and I, in my head, I was praying, and Jesus was teaching me how to cook and how to be a wife and how to be a mother and this, that, and the third. And I was excited, and I wanted to just, I'm a wife. I was going to iron his clothes. I wanted to do everything. We were together. We were talking about getting our own place. Most High has given me a brain. I knew, okay, we're going to get our finances together. I started getting our things in order, setting it up, preparing ourselves to buy a house. I automatically just took over, like this take over spirit. Because I just knew what we needed to do. I always felt this as a kid. If people listened to me, I could save them. I couldn't understand why, but I always knew that if people listened to me, I could help them. This was the strongest feeling I ever have, and I to this day still have it now. Whew. Now I'm able to see why. So we're doing this. I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to prepare food for us and this, that, and the third. So my mother-in-law decides that she's going to come to me and say to me, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to destroy my family. And I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? Like, no, absolutely not. Like, I love your family. You guys do things that I've never, to me, it was like a TV. They hung out with each other. They did that, and I admired that. But I was so used to, in my house, how everybody had their own quarters. They went their own way. They went into their room. So I just did what I knew, and I became pregnant. So I was always in the room. After I came home from work, I was sick. It wasn't that I didn't want to be around anyone. I just did what I knew. So going back to the point, she said that to me, and I'm trying to be a good girl. I'm trying to be a good girl because I'm saved and I'm sanctified and I'm baptized in the Holy Spirit, because I was. And I'm like, no, that's not true. I'm just, we plan. I'm gonna cook for everybody else, but I'm just preparing the rice for his meals for the week. And she was like, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to destroy my family and this and the third. And I'm like, okay, now I could feel the other person just rising up in me. And I'm like, please, no, I'm not. Please, I'm asking you, please, can you step out of my face? Because now she's pointing in my face. And now you're triggering things in me that I didn't know was in me. And I gave her 3 times, 3 times, 3 times. I said it 3 times. Please come out of my face, just like that. Please. And she wouldn't. She continued to antagonize me. And so I let her know. I let her have it, Shelly style. You know, I told her straight up. I said, look here, my mother and my father didn't get away with this without getting a fight. So you best believe you better step about my face. And we began to argue. And we went at it, but we didn't fight. We went at it. And so this now caused a big old commotion, and it got back to my husband about what happened and how me and his mom got into a fight and this, that, and the third, and blah, 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 blah. Mind you, one time we was on the phone, he heard me yell at my mom because she was antagonizing me, trying to tell me what to do. And I'm like, I'm a grown woman. You had lots of time to do that, you know? But you're not going to do that right now. And I guess him hearing that made him like, ooh, wow, how could you talk to your mom like that? But he just didn't understand, you know? And I guess hearing what happened with his mom, he turned on me. He turned on me. Yep. Him and his family. They treated me horribly. You know, I felt like I was in a twilight zone because in my head, I'm a good girl. Nobody understands me. Nobody knows what I'm going through. You know, I would always have dreams as a kid where I would like, I had something to say and someone needed to hear it, but they couldn't because I had no voice. I couldn't get the words out, and that was the worst. That was torture. To know that what I had to say was going to save someone, but I couldn't get the words out. And these were dreams that I would have. So, you know, we start going through problems, and he's telling me that I need to apologize to his mother, and this, that, and the third, and blah, blah, blah. And now, she's been awakened because I felt justified in how I handled her and what I did, because I asked her 3 times. And in my heart, squirrel, in my heart, that was not my intent. So I felt she asked for it, and I only gave her what I felt she asked for. So I was like, no, I'm not apologizing to her. She antagonized me, and this, that, and the third, and I wanted him to be there for me and believe me.